Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome to Marriage and Money, managing your finances as a team. Hey, in this course, we're going to be looking at how you and your spouse can manage your finances in a way that doesn't hurt your marriage. Well, this is session one, blending your financial styles. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm a pastor, police chaplain, marriage coach, and author of this book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. Well, why do you think we need to talk about marriage and money? Well, managing your financing is challenging as a couple. Financial issues can cause significant marriage problems. I would say this financial issues and parenting are one of the two biggest challenges. Well, there's lots of other challenges I address in my marriage coaching, but one of the themes that I hear a lot is we're having problems getting on the same page when it comes to finances and when it comes to managing or dealing with the kids and disciplining the kids. So often, the reason for that is that often couples have two different styles of managing their finances based upon their personality and upbringing. The goal is uniting and working together to manage your money. Now, what happens when you don't manage your money as a team? Well, one person undermines the authority and financial decisions of the other. You know what I'm talking about. You guys make a decision, hey, let's buy this or let's not buy this. Maybe we need to wait on that. And then the other person just doesn't. Maybe they get tempted if you say, maybe we need to cut back on the spending that we do for clothes or something. And so the other person, though, says, yeah, but I found this great pair of shoes on sale. And look at all the money we're saving. I couldn't pass it up. What are you doing now? You've made a decision. The other person is going the other way and undermining that decision. Then you end up fighting about it. Okay. Hey, well, how can I trust you? You told me you were going to tell me about everything that you spend. And now I'm seeing on the credit card statement that you spent without talking to me about it. And now we've got a huge marriage issue going on. There's a fight, a conflict. Then, of course, the other thing is that you're going to struggle paying your bills on time or then saving enough for the goals that you have, saving for your future, saving for a house, saving just so you're not living paycheck to paycheck, okay? And then your marriage will suffer from a lack of unity. Why? Because you've got two people who are going two different directions. And instead of working together, you are working separately and in conflict over the financial decisions that you make. Well, the good news is that managing your money together is achievable. You really can get on the same page. You can become united as a couple and unified. You must be willing, though, to let go of your past money management efforts and embrace a new way of doing it. All right. So, understanding the two basic money management styles. This is what today's lesson is really all about. Basically, there's two styles, and you could put these on a continuum where you've got a line drawn on the right hand side or left hand side. You put the word spenders, and then you draw a line across the page, and then you put the word savers at the other end. You could even put numbers. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And where are you? Basically, a spender is someone that enjoys their money, okay? That they're out there spending, they're having fun with it, they're doing stuff. The problem with a spender is that they have a tendency to overspend, right? Let's be honest. An overspender, which means you spend more than you earn, more than you have. And the way you get out of that or the way you manage that is you put it on credit cards, right? So if you have, whatever, $100 or $500 or $1,000 and you spend $1,200, well, what do? You just use a plastic and then you'd be like, oh, I'll pay it back later. But you're having such a great time spending that oftentimes the danger in that is that you're going to end up living paycheck to paycheck. You have nothing in reserve. You have nothing saved. And when bad things happen, and they do, right? then you're caught unprepared. You don't have enough money to pay the rent. You don't have enough money to get out of debt. And then the debt just continues to accumulate if you're really undisciplined as a spender. Okay. Now you have savers on the other hand. And let me tell you that a saver is great because they're always thinking about, okay, well, I've got to prepare for the future. But they have a tendency to be worried and afraid, whereas spenders are not worried and afraid enough. Okay. Now, certainly the Bible tells us that God has not given us a spirit of fear. So I don't want to encourage you to be afraid, but to trust the Lord to provide for you, certainly. However, a spender needs a little bit more caution. And a saver, on the other hand, can end up being like the guy in the Charles Dickens story, A Christmas Carol, a miserable miser. And that's who Ebenezer Scrooge was, that he was so worried and afraid about not having enough that he never enjoyed his money. He never gave until, the three ghosts came, and then he had a real change of his heart and attitude through that story. So, anyways, so you're probably somewhere in between. I have never met, well, I shouldn't say never. I can think of a few now that I'm thinking about it. I've met some extreme spenders and some extreme savers, but most people that I've interacted with, most couples that I've interacted with are somewhere in between. Now, you might be on a scale of 1 to 10 with 1 through 5 being the spender. You might be a 2 or 3, whereas from 6 to 10 is the saver. So you might be a saver that's somewhere around a number 6 or a number 7. Okay. Or you might be a 5, that you're both, you're really balanced. You have a good attitude of spending and a good attitude of savings. Well, the question here is, which one do you identify with? Okay. So spenders are not bad and savers are not bad, but both extremes have some negative consequences. So what do I want to encourage you to do is find balance between the two. Spenders need to learn how to save, but savers need to learn how to spend. Yeah, that's the ideal here, where we're trusting God, but we're also enjoying our finances and we're allowing God to use us to be a blessing to others with our finances, because an extreme saver usually is not one who's very generous. They haven't understand the principle of giving. They're always afraid. They're always thinking about, I don't have enough. So God wants to break that, but he also wants spenders to have some discipline and to live in the realm of reality, that you cannot spend what you don't have if you want to be stable financially, if you want to have some stability and some security. Okay, so our money management story, my wife and I. So I do tend to be a spender, and my wife tends to be a saver. Okay. So we've identified that early on. My struggle or challenge is that I don't like saying no to my wife or my family. If there's something that we want, I'm like, hey, let's go get it, or let's go do it. Let's have fun. Let's use the resources we have. And my wife, on the other hand, says, no, we really don't need that. It'll be fine. Now, one of the things that we have committed to is to following the 10-10-80 principle that Pastor Jim teaches. Pastor Jim Reeve at Faith Church taught us early on 10-10-80. So 10%, your first 10% goes to God. Your second 10% goes to yourself, and that's called savings. And then you discipline your spending so that you can live 80 on the remaining 80%. Okay. So we have really been careful to do that. The first thing we do when we get paid is we pay our tithe. We give our 10% of that. And then we put money into savings. Okay. Now, I'm the one who manages the money and pays all the bills. Okay. Early on in our marriage, or actually before we got married, my wife worked as the assistant to the financial controller of a big electrical contracting firm. So I thought, oh, this is awesome. She can manage our finances. Well, she didn't like doing it. So I said, no problem, I'll take it on. And so for the last 36 years that we've been married, I've been doing it every month. Okay. So I'm the one who manages and pay all the bills, but I keep her informed. And I'll never forget a few years ago, actually quite a few years ago now, maybe 20 years ago, she said, I feel or I don't feel we have enough in savings. And so what did we do? We use the old-fashioned envelope method. And if you're not familiar with the envelope method, let me tell you that it really works. And basically what you do is that you figure out what your budget is going to be. And I'm going to help you do that in the course of these lessons. But you take your budget and then you say, okay, what can we use cash for? Now, you can't use cash for everything. You don't use cash to pay your mortgage or your rent. Well, I guess you could use it to pay your rent. But basically, what we did is we said, okay, let's get out enough cash every month after we get paid to pay our grocery bill, to pay what else? Have some money for clothing expenses, have some money for gifts, have some money for just miscellaneous things, haircuts and toiletries and, trips to Target and Walmart, those kinds of things. And so we would take out a certain amount every month and put it in envelopes. And then we would use that to spend. Okay. And then some things that were kind of fixed, like our mortgage payment, our electricity bill, stuff like that, that came out of the checking account automatically. So we didn't need cash for that. But what it did is that it forced us to limit ourselves. So when you run out of money in an envelope, and that envelope is like groceries, okay, what do you need to do if you don't have enough food or you need to get something until you get more money in the envelope? You have to take it from another envelope. So maybe, okay, you know what? We're not going to buy any clothes this month. We're going to take that money because we're running short on groceries. You see what I mean? Basically, it forces you to stop spending when the money in that envelope is out, or then you're going to take money from another envelope in order to make up for that. But it keeps you on track with the goals that you have in your spending plan. And because of that, we were able to really maximize our savings. So here's some thoughts on how to change your money management style. Admit what you're doing isn't working. Okay. That's always the first place of change in our lives. We have to admit that what we're doing right now isn't working. Okay. And admit that you need help, that you have a problem or a struggle here. So it's admitting that you need some help, admitting that what you're doing isn't working. Then you're going to ask God and others for help. And maybe that's why you're taking this course, because you're looking for some answers. You're looking for some help. Well, I want to encourage you to also invite God into your money management challenges. Okay. In other words, God, show us what to do. Lord, we're surrendering what we're doing now, and we're looking to you to guide us to make better financial decisions and to start working together as we manage our money. Then the next step is to understand your spouse's financial management style. Okay. Is your spouse, your husband or your wife, a spender or a saver? So that's why I encourage you to think about it and identify it. And then, but instead of saying, well, you know what, my spouse needs to stop spending money, he's the problem or she's the problem, or my spouse needs to loosen up a little bit because she never wants to do anything. She always wants to save everything. Okay. So instead of telling him or her what they need to do, okay, here's a big marriage secret: allow them to influence you. But it starts first by understanding their style, the way they want to do it, and then being open to allowing them to influence you. Because this is how you get on the same page, guys. It starts with understanding, it starts with listening. So asking those questions and then blend your styles together. All right, now here's a suggestion. Maybe this might help you. All right. So here's one way to do it. If you are married to a saver and you're a spender, okay, or vice versa, let the saver in your relationship take the lead in making financial decisions. Because typically, one of the things that I've noticed is that savers tend to overcompensate and be more focused on saving in order to rein in their spouse who is a spender and put some controls on them because they're afraid that if I let them spend a little money, they're going to spend it all. Okay. So you commit and saying, all right, you're more of a saver than I am. You take the lead in making our decisions. And then the spender follows the saver. So what happens is that the spender becomes more disciplined in their spending habits. Then, as that begins to happen, the saver will be less strict and will stop overcompensating for the spender. In other words, the spender is going to spend less and the saver is going to save less and actually spend a little. All right. So the spender's going to start saving and the saver's going to start spending. So here's the principle that we need to remember from God's word. Genesis 2:24. By the way, this is in the Bible 5 different times. This same verse, okay? So if God put it in the Bible 5 times, we need to really pay attention to it. But here's what the verse says. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Let me tell you, this is God's plan for you in your marriage, with your parenting, and certainly in your spending. Become one. Get on the same page. Decide together how you want to move forward and do this. And it starts, by the way, with the language that you use. In other words, it's not your money and my money, it's our money. Okay. So we're going to unite our finances together. And we'll talk more specifically about how to do this. But remember that it's not yours and it's not mine, it's ours. So, how are we going to manage our money? And working together, becoming one, is really what God's plan and the answer for you in to be effective in this. All right. So, a few questions before we end today. What do you want to see in your money and your marriage? Do you want to work together? Do you want to save more? Do you want to pay off some debts? Do you want to pay your bills on time and create an emergency fund? Do you want to tithe or give regularly? Do you want to stop fighting? Do you want to know where your money is going every month? And do you want to learn to live within your means? Okay, just a few of the goals that you might have. So I want you to think about, what are your goals? What do you want to see change as a result of taking this course? Okay. So here's some homework until our next session. Talk about what money management style you tend to be. Okay. Then discuss and create some short-term financial goals. And then track your spending daily for the next 14 days. And then finally, go on a date, but don't spend more than $10 on that date. Now, you may think, well, how can we do that? There's lots of ways. The last time I checked, Starbucks, 2 drinks at Starbucks will get you close to that $10. But if you buy the small size, it's going to be less than $10. So you go to Starbucks, get a drink, sit on the patio there, and have some time together. Or maybe you just go for a walk around your neighborhood or go to a park or walk down the beach. That's free. Well, you do have to pay for parking if you go to the beach. So anyways, you see what I mean, though. Figure out something that you can do. Hey, well, that's it for today. Pray that God would bless you and that God would bless your finances and God would bless your marriage. So until next time, do your homework, and I'm looking forward to picking this up in our next session. God bless. Bye-bye.